Hi, welcome to the Wisdom of Your Soul. I'm Janice Mary, your host. Welcome back. I'm so glad you joined us. I am a psychotherapist, and I'd love to just kind of talk about all that I'm learning and experiencing since I had an amazing experience, awakening, however you would want to phrase it, to connect to my soul energy. And in the soul energy, I definitely feel a lot of wisdom, a lot of guidance, and a lot of help and support. Support and help that I probably couldn't find in my ego mind, and would be kind of hard to find from other people as well, because we all tend to be in that ego state. Some people aren't, but the majority of us are, and we struggle, and we see things through the lens of this world and a lot of concepts that are very, very limiting. So I want to talk a little bit about today is I went on a weekend retreat at Omega with Eckhart Tolle, and it was an amazing experience, and it was a really great experience because I got a chance to really disconnect from my life and listen to his words of wisdom. And I feel with him, he definitely connects to his soul energy, even though he doesn't call it his soul energy. He calls it consciousness, which we're all connected to. So I wouldn't get hung up on the labels. I think it's just important for all of us to explore all these different experiences, and you can label it and call it whatever you want to. So I think that's a really cool thing. But the workshop was really, really great, and I really enjoyed it. I always love listening to his wisdom because he does sit in that energy, that consciousness energy. He'll even say before he does a talk that he doesn't even have an outline for the talk. He doesn't prepare for the talk. He doesn't think about it. He's solely in the moment, and so when he steps onto stage in front of 500 people, I don't know how he does that, he just talks. And he talks from this, inner wisdom and the consciousness that he feels. And I guess for all of us, we experience it a little bit differently. So it was amazing to be in his presence and be around a whole bunch of people with like minds. So it was really, really fascinating. And a lot of the things that he does share are things I do feel when I go into the soul energy. And I think that that's why I really resonate so much with him, because a lot of his insights and a lot of his wisdom, I feel like I get the same answers. So, which is really nice. It's really validating. So that's why I continue to try to help people to move out of their minds and to, just kind of go within and feel that energy. Some of his suggestions, which I thought were really good, were to a couple of things that he would recommend to tap into this energy that lives within us, and to move out of our minds. The first thing he always recommends is to follow your breath. You don't have to change your breath. You don't have to do deep breaths. You can, but even just simply following your breath, watching go in and out, takes you out of your mind and back into the present. And it's in the present that we feel so much better. And it's in the present that we can tap into the energy, the spiritual energy that lives within us. So following your breath always takes you back out of your mind. So if you're having an issue, if you can't stop thinking, if something is bothering you, to take a few deep breaths or just to follow your breath will pull you back out of your mind. The other thing that he would suggest is to start with your hands and to feel into your hands and feel the energy within your hands, which I thought was really cool. So basically what you would just do is you look at your hands and then feel the energy inside of your hands and just kind of sit with that. And when I do that, I start feeling like a tingling inside of my hands. And then he had us go from our hands all the way up to our arms and then throughout our body, so that you're really focusing on the energy that lives within you, which is the soul energy, which is that spirit energy. So it's really helpful to do that. And again, when you're doing this kind of thing, you're not thinking as much, pulling us out of the ego mind of thinking and analyzing and evaluating, and then starting to not feel so good. So those are two ways. And then another way he suggested is just really trying to stay very present. I'm here, I'm now, I'm right here. I don't have to think about the past. The past is over. And I don't have to go into the future. I'm not ready for the future. So if I stay right here in the present, usually we're pretty calm in the present. We're pretty happy in the present moment when we allow ourselves to be. It's only when we start kind of, thinking about the past or worrying about what could happen in the future that we start to get really anxious, So keeping those boundaries, the boundary, like I look at as walls, the wall to the past and the wall to the future. And some people could put brick walls, some people just put flower walls, some people put steel walls. But whatever you put, just if you have that kind of, it's just kind of a reminder to stay out of the past and a reminder not to go into the future. So however you want to wall that, after a while you'll stop doing it as much naturally, but in the beginning it's really our tendency is always to be thinking and thinking and thinking, especially when things are not going the way that we would like them to go. We all tend to be we want things to go the way we want them to go, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want to control our lives. We want what we want. And so when life starts giving us challenges, which it always does, our life is always going to throw us curveballs. That's when we're really challenged to stay out of the past and out of the future. And that's not easy to do. I had a client tell me the other day, I was doing really good. I was having a great day. I really wasn't thinking so much. I was just, I went for a walk and then I went shopping and I was doing great. And then all of a sudden I found myself searching, like something was bothering me. Like, oh, what was bothering me? So I know something was bothering me. What was bothering me? And she said that she was searching for something because she knew something was bothering her, but she couldn't remember what was bothering her. And, she kept searching for it. And that's what sometimes we'll do that if we're just feeling okay. Like I woke up today and I feel pretty good. That we might start searching for things, worries or concerns or disappointments or things that could happen that we don't want to have happen, resistance things. There's a lot of things in life that we have to deal with. So it's very interesting for us when we do try to stay present and how difficult it is. And that's everything. That's, Eckhart Tolle's main focus is staying in the present. So he would suggest that, when we go outside, don't turn on our phones, to stay off our phones, because our phones could trigger us into the past or into the future, which they do. You have your phone by your side and you look at it and then you see, you might see somebody on Facebook from high school, and then that could trigger you. Or you might see somebody's going on a trip and then you think, oh, I want to go on a trip. Why can't I go on a trip right now? So that could trigger you for a future thing. So he suggested that we stay off our phones as much as possible. And I did notice that I was so much better when I wasn't on my phone. But, even being on your phone, you could use that as a challenge. You could use that as, okay, even if I want to stay on my phone, I can still not let it trigger me. And I guess one of the biggest things I took away from the retreat was this idea that we do live in a very conceptual world, that we have ideas about everything. And we take our ideas as written in stone, that this is the way it's supposed to be, and we limit ourselves by doing that. So we form beliefs which do help us to make sense of our world. So it's understandable why we have to have concepts like a cup has to be a cup. We have to be able to make sense of things. But then at a certain point, we really can let go of the concepts, and especially concepts that are limiting and evaluative, and concepts that make us upset. I can't become abundant, or, I don't deserve to be abundant, or, concepts of, just things that are going to limit you or other people. When we go into this soul energy, this consciousness energy, you can feel it. You can feel your abundance, and you can feel so much gratitude, and you can feel, if you wanted to, you could start to feel, people in spirit around you, or guides, or angels. If you could feel all of that when you stay very, very present. You can't really feel that when you're in the mind and when you're worrying and you're creating anxiety within yourself and creating depression within yourself. And it's so easy to do that we don't even realize we're doing it. People will just say, I have anxiety. That's just me. I have anxiety, or I've always suffered from depression. And that's what the world teaches us, that we suffer from these things, and that, you kind of have to accept it, when that's not really the truth. We suffer from these things because we've been taught so many concepts that if certain things happen to us in our lives, that we should be depressed. If we've had certain experiences, we should be now anxious and can't trust the world. And if we continually believe these things, we're going to keep feeling badly. And so Eckhart Tolle and a lot of spiritual teachers will help us to really try to move out of these concepts. And the more we move out of these limiting concepts that, no matter what happened to me in my past, I don't have to be anxious or depressed. I just have to stay out of those thoughts that keep triggering the feelings that are making me so scared, or making me feel so disappointed in my life that I feel like the future isn't going to be any better, which is so far from the truth. Because if we all just connect into this soul energy, this conscious energy, no matter what happened to us in our past, we feel loved, and we feel abundant, and we feel all the true things about us, the true concepts about us that the concepts are so vast that you can't even define them. So when you start to feel that, then your life starts changing, because it's almost like you can't convince the mind. People will say, well, how can I become abundant? How can I change these feelings of insecurity? I don't think you can change it on your own. Honestly, I think that you might be able to change it on your own for a short period of time, but the mind will never really let you believe your worth. And that's not a great thing. But it's the mind's job. The mind is like a computer trying to protect us and records everything about our lives. But it's not something for us to look to evaluate ourselves. So the more we can realize our mind is good for tasks, our mind is good to pay the bills and to do our jobs and to function and to understand that concepts help us. But our mind is really, really not something we want to consult when it comes to who we are, what we're capable of, and what we're going to do in our lives. And nor is it very good for evaluating other people, because the mind is just going to evaluate other people in a very similar way that you evaluate yourself. So if you're really hard on yourself, you're going to be very, very hard on other people. And that's why we have so many people lashing out at people, because they're lashing out at themselves. And then that just gets projected out into the world. And it's hurtful. It's just hurtful. It's hurtful for us to do it to ourselves, and then it's hurtful for us to do it to other people. So it's really important for us to try so hard to move out of this mind. And, when I work with clients, and even myself, when I find myself back thinking, I can see the effect of it right away. When I start thinking and worrying, and I'm just in my kind of conceptual human self, I'm up at night, I can't sleep that well, I start eating junk, so the minute it starts going, I could see the negative effect it has on me instantly. And then when I remember and I say, oh, wait a minute, I haven't been meditating, I haven't been writing my posts, I haven't been connecting enough, I haven't been going within. I know that the effects of not doing those things, it has a big effect on me, because then I'm just back in my human self, believing all the concepts that we all believe, and it's not really a good thing. So when I go back into the soul energy, I'm in a much better place of accepting my life, accepting what's happening in my life, even though there's some things happening that I really, my human self is really, really upset about. When I go into my soul energy, it just calms it down and says, you know what, everything always works out for your highest good, no matter how that looks on the human level. If people were to see it, they would say, oh, that's a shame. I'm sorry that that's happening. And I feel the same way. But when I go and I meditate and I'm in that soul energy, I feel supported and I feel loved and I feel taken care of, and that how the things of this world is so transient, that to get caught up in them that much and to get invested in things that much is really not so helpful. And a lot of times we have to suffer losses to gain. So that's what the spirit world will tell me. You know, you might be suffering a loss right now, and that's really painful and it's hard to let go. But from that loss, you're going to gain so much. And my thinking mind I couldn't convince myself of that, because my thinking mind would just be like, oh, you know, this is just happening to you because you're having, you know, it's your fault, basically. It's your fault. So when you're in your spirit energy, you're never to blame for anything that's happening in your life. You're just kind of taught to let go of resistance and to say, listen, you know, life is full of changes, and some of the changes you do not want, but most of these changes are for your higher good, for your higher learning. And the more we don't hold on to the concepts of, well, I want this or I want that, then the easier it is to accept change and not to resist it so much. So if you have something going on in your life that you really don't want to have happen and you're really resisting, I would really, really suggest that you become very, very present. You know, feel that energy within your body, feel it, and do all the things that Eckhart Tolle recommends, so that you can then, once you're in that soul energy, that energy that connects us to each other, you'll start to feel better, and you'll start to feel like, I can handle this change, whatever it is, I can handle it. You know, whether you have to move or you have loss of a relationship, whatever is going on for you, we do so much better with our spiritual support. And, you know, that's not something that we're taught to do. I mean, some people have religion and they turn to prayer and church, and that helps them so much. And, you know, that's a great thing. So it's very similar to that. It's just that when you feel the energy within you, you feel how much more it is. I feel like, in a way, religion is a concept, and it's a limiting concept. So when you go into your soul energy, it even surpasses religion, because, you know, when you're in that energy, nothing really can describe it. You can't describe the intense support or the intense love that is felt for you, and the intense protection. You know, we're very grounded into this world, and we're very grounded into our bodies, and wanting to keep things the same. You know, we want to stay in the same relationships. We don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to move from our homes. You know, we want to keep things very much the same, because that feels good and safe for most of us. I mean, some people love change, but I would have to say the majority of people I know do not like change. And most of my clients come in because they're going through so many changes, and the anxiety that's accompanied with the changes is really, really difficult. So, you know, for most of us, change is difficult. But the spirit world has a whole other take on it. You know, the spirit world is always like, well, change is your teacher. You know, and as you feeling bad, if you turn to us, you'll understand why the change is happening. And if you don't turn within, and if you don't ask, you're not going to understand it. You're going to feel like a victim. You're going to feel like, why all these terrible things happen to me? Even if they're on a big scale or a little scale, why are all these things happening to me? So when you turn to your soul energy and you go within and you feel that consciousness, the first thing you're going to feel is a connection to everybody. So what's happening to you is on some level happening to everybody, and good and bad. So all the good things that are happening in the world, you get to benefit from, and all the struggles you get to learn from. So that feeling of connectedness to everyone really does help so much, because you're not in this world alone, and you're never alone, and you always have an amazing support system in spirit. And that's something that you just want to always turn to. And I think Eckhart Tolle and what I try to do, and a lot of spiritual teachers, are just a reminder to turn within, to turn to these kind of teachings, to listen to other people other than your own thoughts and your own mind, because that's not going to help you so much. So if you're struggling with something, if you're having a challenge right now, meditate a little bit, go for a walk, get out of your thoughts about it, because your thoughts are only going to evaluate it negatively, because that's what we do. So the only way that we can have a different experience is to let thought go back into your into the present moment and into your soul energy, and start asking, why is this happening to me? Just ask, instead of just letting your thoughts being triggered and you evaluating why this is happening to you, you thinking that why this is happening to you. Ask, why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to learn? And usually something will come into your mind. If you quiet your mind down enough, then you'll be able to hear the whispers of spirit, But we can't hear them talking to us if our mind is active. It's like the words just can't get in. And they try so hard. They're always there trying really, really hard to get in, to talk to us and support us. I know I was reading a tweet from Laura Byrne, and she's the woman that wrote the book Angels in My Hair. And that's a lovely book, because she talks about how the angels are around us all the time, trying to help us and talk to us, but we ignore them because we're in our minds all the time, and we're upset all the time, or we're thinking that we can't feel anything around us. So when we stop the mind and we just ask a question, well, why is this relationship over? Why did this relationship have to end? Or, why do I have to sell my house when I don't want to? Why do these things have to happen to me? And instead of going into sadness and depression, or anxiety because you're on your own, or now you don't know where you're going to live, instead of going into all of that, you can listen and hear, from your soul, which might say something like, that relationship served its purpose, and you learned, and that person learned, and now you're going to be available for a new relationship, and that's going to serve its purpose. And you might have to leave your home because it's time. It's time for you to move on. It's time for you to be in a different energy, in a different house or a different place that's going to affect you in a much more positive way, for many reasons that you just don't know. So, when you hear a response like that, you don't necessarily even hear it, you just kind of know it, you start to feel better. And when you feel the support, you feel better. So that's what's really, really important, is to give yourself the opportunity to feel and hear and sense something different than the mind. The mind will always be there to evaluate you and other people, and probably in a negative way. So if you want to try something different, if you want to feel something different, if you want to hear the wisdom that our collective souls have for us, then you really, really have to keep saying, I'm going to shelve these thoughts right now. I'm just going to shelve it. I'm going to put it on the shelf. I'm not going to think this right now. and I'm going to just go in my day, and I'm going to take one step at a time and just have a good day. And throughout my day, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask for signs. I'm going to ask questions about my life and who I am and what am I meant to do here. And you'll get images, you'll get synchronicities will start happening. People will start saying things to you like, oh, have you ever thought to draw? Or, have you ever thought to, take your baking skills to the next level? Things like that will happen. And when you're in the mind, you won't notice them. You won't hear any of that because you're so in the mind and so anxious and so depressed and being caught in that victim mode. You're not going to hear anything, any way that the spirit world tries to support us and tries to guide us. You're not going to hear it. So the more you're clear and the more you move away from the mind, which I really feel is very, our mind is kind of very grounded to this earth and is so limiting. So if we just think of it that way, that we're so much more, we're so powerful, we have all these gifts, it's like we have all these superpowers, we have our spiritual gifts, you can be clairvoyant, you can connect to spirits, you can do so much more, and there's so much more to you that wants to grow and emerge. And if you don't, that's fine, because you'll just, when you go into the spirit world, you'll realize, oh, okay, I could do that maybe next time. So it's never a bad thing, but it's just so much more of a supportive way to live. And also, it makes sense of the world. If we don't have this energy to kind of check in with and say, what is this about? I'm going to be scared all the time, You're just going to live in fear. And also live in kind of all the negativity of all the bad things that are going in the world. The spirit world reminds us and will remind me when I'm like, oh my goodness, this world is like falling apart. When I ask the spirit world, they'll say, you know what, sometimes things do have to like hit rock bottom before they get better. Sometimes, people or politics or religions have to hit their own rock bottom. But then what emerges from that is growth and newness and a chance for things to evolve. So when you feel an answer like that, it is so much more supportive and helpful. So just keep practicing not believing your mind when it comes to evaluating yourself or other people. And to just move out of those thoughts. You're very familiar with those thoughts and what they say to you and how they bring you down and what they trigger within you. So if you can just say, you know what, I don't have to believe this about myself. First of all, the thoughts are coming from like a computer mind that is limited, and I don't want to take advice from a computer system that is limited. If you look at it that way, that almost like our mind is an old computer that hasn't been updated. And the soul energy and the spirit energy is the ultimate update. So we definitely want to go with that. So the challenge becomes, and this is a challenge, so I'm going to challenge you. The challenge becomes how long in the day can you stay out of your mind? How long can you move away? How much of your day can you move away from thoughts that hurt you or other people? How often can you just say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to add to these thoughts. I'm not going to cause this kind of suffering. We can't stop the thoughts. I think they're always there because I can see that mine are there. But what we can do is move away from them. And the more you don't believe them, the easier it is to let go of them. It's just like, oh, that's silly. I'm not going to believe that about myself. And you start to have new beliefs like, I don't know why this is happening. These things are happening to me and my human self is upset. But I know for a fact that things happen for my highest good. And when you say that to yourself and you don't believe it, it doesn't resonate. But when you're in the soul energy, when you're present and you say that to yourself, you feel the truth of it. So the knowing is very, very different than the affirmations of just saying stuff to yourself. I mean, I think affirmations is a step in the right direction, but being in this energy out of your mind and being in this energy is really what helps you to know that all of those affirmations are true, and that everybody in spirit is there to help and guide and loves you like you've never been loved before. So I really hope you just continue to take the opportunity to keep learning from every spiritual teacher you can, and to move out of the computer mind that is really very, very antiquated, and that you have a beautiful day today. And challenge yourself. How much can you stay out of your thoughts today? So have a great, beautiful day. And if you have any questions, please post them. And I hope to talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.